The New York eviction notice. What is an eviction notice? Eviction notice, or notice to quit, is a letter sent by the landlord to the tenant notifying them that they should either take or stop a certain action or vacate the rented premises. Eviction notice can be of two types: conditional, when a tenant is given time to remedy the breach of the lease, or unconditional, when a landlord terminates the lease without any alternative options for a tenant. What should an eviction notice include? Information about the tenant and the landlord. The reason for sending the notice. The date by which the tenant should take or stop a certain action. The consequences of non-compliance. The date and way of notice delivery and the landlord's signature in the form of certificate of service attached to the notice. How to evict a tenant in New York. Non-payment notice. There is no statutory grace period for rent payment in the state of New York. This enables the landlord to send the notice to the tenant the very next day after the rent is due, unless otherwise stated in the lease. In the state of New York, landlords should send a 14-day notice to pay or quit before evicting the tenant for non-payment of rent. Non-compliance notice. If the tenant violates other terms of the lease, a notice to correct the violation or quit, giving the tenant 10 days before the lease is terminated, should be sent. If the violation is not remedied, the tenant should be given a 30-day notice requiring them to move out within 30 days after the delivery of the notice. However, when it comes to violations that involve illegal activity, no notice is required by New York law before termination of the lease. What if the tenant fails to comply? If the tenant fails to comply with the rules of lease, the landlord can file a complaint with the appropriate New York district or magistrate court. The fee depends on the county, court, and the type of eviction case. The tenant should get a notice of petition and a petition by a person over 18 who is not part of the hearing 10 to 7 days before it. The tenant who is being evicted due to non-payment will have 10 days to respond to the petition with the court if they want to contest the eviction. Tenants in other eviction cases are not required to file such a response. They just have to appear for the hearing. The tenant's failure to attend the court hearing might result in a judgment in favor of the landlord by default. If the landlord wins the case, a writ of execution will be issued. According to such an order, the tenant is given 14 days after the court decision to leave the premises. In case the tenant is evicted for non-payment, the period is decreased to 10 days. However, they can be granted a stay of execution in some cases.